Happy Election Day, everybody. You all been waiting for this day like I have. You know, enough of the commercials, we can get back to quality TV like the E-Trade baby, right? I wanted to spend a few minutes today talking about change. I think our industry, our customers are going through some profound change. And it's evident in some of the capabilities that we're delivering customers today as an industry and where things are going. You know, as we talk to customers around the country, they're sort of challenged with this picture. And this is really a change in the way that IT architectures are being developed, the way that applications are being developed. Back in the day, customers used to have their arms around everything, right? They own their own data centers, they own their own local area networks, their own wide area networks, they own their own applications environment, right? When a user hit the enter button, they knew how that application was going to perform. And nowadays, their bosses are coming to them saying, are we in the cloud yet? Right? Got all these great applications, going to save us a ton of money. How do we get those applications and bring them into what we're doing? The IT architecture is changing, and the challenge for the IT professional is, how do you bridge that gap? How do you go from the way that you had controls and your arms around everything to integrate these great applications that we're seeing in the cloud and adopt those and integrate those just so that when your users go to hit the enter button, you know how they're going to perform? And that's the challenge, right? So it's really the challenge to the IT professional, and how do they bring value back to the business? How do they create an agile IT environment? How do you make this infrastructure a dynamic one, right? Because they don't know how they're managing applications today, next week, next month, next year. They're being forced with a new set of operating parameters where they need infrastructure, they need applications environments for a day, a week, or a month. They are having a hard time planning for the next 3 years, let alone the next 5 years. So what they're looking for, and how do you bridge that gap, is in delivering services for customers that's over a secure, a scalable, predictable network experience, right? And most of all, giving them this notion of on-demand infrastructure, on-demand capabilities. We think about it as, we call it Telco 2.0. And the way that the infrastructure for communications and connectivity is changing, we're moving from delivering circuits to customers to delivering services. We're moving away from TDM infrastructure and that step function approach to bandwidth, where you go from T1s to DS3s to OC3s and that big chunk, to more seamless scalability with Ethernet, from 10 meg to 100 meg to a gig to 10 gig and beyond. We're moving away from the notion of this big dumb pipe towards an intelligent network strategy, right? So you can't just deliver commoditized bandwidth. We have to do something with it. We have to make it more flexible for customers. We're moving away from discrete parallel network services where voice is a separate network from data, is a separate network from internet, is a separate network from video, into a converged platform where we bring one wire from the network to deliver to a customer their voice, their data, their video, their internet, right? Those are all just applications on the data network. We're moving away from this notion of real cumbersome order processing strategies and capabilities to deliver customers the capability for on-demand networking services and machine-to-machine connectivity, right? It moves from the lengthy provisioning cycles to on-demand service delivery. So we're really in a significant change, big industry change going on, and customers are driving the communications environment to change. And Ethernet is that platform that allows customers to have that seamless scalability, that on-demand networking, a secure, scalable, predictable network experience. And it's also that path to the cloud. So we're doing a pretty good job, I think, as an industry getting Ethernet out there. I mean, some of the charts Nan showed were really interesting, right? That there's more Ethernet bandwidth in use today than all legacy bandwidth combined. I mean, think about that. TDM services have been around since the early 60s. Frame relay and ATM for 20 years. Ethernet, maybe 10 years, right? And we've overtaken all of that legacy bandwidth. But we have a lot more to do. And it's about interconnectivity, and it's about delivering more access to more locations across other people's networks as well. That wholesale strategy gets that word out, gets the capabilities for Ethernet where customers want it, when they want it, for as long as they want it. So Ethernet is really that foundation as we think about change in the industry, change in the IT architecture, and really that enablement of the cloud. As we think about enabling cloud services and cloud solutions, I think there's three key sorts of attributes that are really important for customers to think about. So first, visibility to what's going on in the network in real time so that they can see how they need to manage their applications environment, right? We need to give customers more information about what's going on so that they can manage that quality experience for their customers, their users. I talked about this notion of on-demand infrastructure, on-demand capabilities, dynamic bandwidth or bandwidth on demand. You know, that's been the holy grail in our business for a long time. Giving customers the capabilities to scale up their capacity when they need it for as long as they need it, right? And down the road, customers are going to look for more control over the network, over the applications environment so that they can deliver a better experience to their users. They're not looking for a fixed sort of infrastructure. They want flexibility around how they deliver capabilities. So they think about visibility, bandwidth on demand, application-aware networking strategies. All of those are key pillars or attributes for where I think the Ethernet networks are delivering capabilities and scalability to reach the cloud. We've put these capabilities together in a set of features that sit on top of our Ethernet network, sit on top of our MPLS IPVPN networks. And so when we think about how customers are enabling the cloud or enabling a new IT architecture and infrastructure, we look to an intelligent network approach where they can have more control over what they're doing with their networks and manage the visibility that they need in order to give their users a better experience. And we've boiled that down into three key services. First, enhanced management. So giving customers more information about what's going on in the network in real time, presented through the portal so they can see things like packet loss, latency, jitter, bandwidth utilization, class of service utilization, and then they can make adjustments as they need to. But to do it not only end-to-end, but give them a granular view. So what we've done is said, we're going to give you information about what's going on in the metro, what's going on in the long haul, what's going on at the remote end. And so you can do better fault isolation and trouble management. You can see what's going on in the network in real time. And you can manage that experience for your users as you need to. The second piece for us is dynamic bandwidth or dynamic capacity. To give customers flexibility to scale up their infrastructure as they need to meet the changing needs of their applications environment, to give them bandwidth on demand, to let them scale up infrastructure as they need to so that they can meet an applications environment like they would be doing with data backup and disaster recovery strategies and supporting a new application deployment. The third piece is about giving customers an application-aware network strategy so that you can now have more control over the class of service strategies and how you implement that capability across the network in real time. So instead of predefining and setting up exactly how you want that to work, defining particular class of service queues, what applications are going to go in those service queues, determining how much bandwidth is applied to each of those queues, giving customers flexibility around how do they manage that in real time Sometimes you don't want certain traffic moving across the network while you prioritized others. And so to give customers that flexibility where they have the capability to manage the applications in real time is key. So what we've done is launched a couple of these services. Enhanced management we launched earlier in the year. Dynamic capacity we launched in August of this year. And we're getting some pretty interesting results from our customers. With dynamic capacity, what we've done is given the customers capability to double or triple their capacity in real time. So when a customer goes to our portal, there's two ways they can do this. It could be an ad hoc sort of situation where they need bandwidth immediately. They go to the portal, they turn up the capacity, there's a slider down on the bottom, allows them to double or triple their capacity. It presents to them how much it's going to cost them on a per megabit hour basis. And as they accept that, we go out and do a capacity check. We provision the network elements, establish surveillance, establish a billing record, and we do all of that in about 15 seconds without affecting their underlying service, right? So when we talk about giving customers access to the cloud and access to these applications, we're talking about delivering this in real time, not taking down their old service, re-provisioning it. This is really incrementally scaling it up as they need to. We can also give them an opportunity to schedule an event. So if they do data backups on a Saturday night at midnight till 6 a.m. on Sunday morning, they can schedule that from their desk on a Wednesday afternoon. So giving customers flexibility around how they manage their bandwidth opens up tremendous opportunities. As I've talked to customers about this over the past several months, it's sort of interesting. You go into these things thinking, I'm going to have certain applications that are no-brainers for this, right? Data backup. We all would think that's a no-brainer for this sort of application. I have regular scheduled data backups. I know how much bandwidth it's going to take, how I can shorten that cycle. But we're hearing a lot of other really interesting applications. Disaster recovery strategies. How do you establish a new DR site, doubling, tripling that capacity for a short term while you move all the servers and infrastructure around and then get to a regular sort of bandwidth utilization? I met with a legal firm in a market that was doing a partners conference in another market and said, I'd love to have this for the week, right? Not 36 months, not 90 days to provision it. I need it next week. Or a Department of Defense customer who is managing bases, and when they have people coming back, they need more capacity to meet the needs of those guys showing up on base. And when they redeploy them, they can drop their bandwidth down. So there's a whole slew of applications that are going to be driven by having this level of flexibility, and that's what's pretty exciting about it. So today, we have the capability to give customers that immediacy of bandwidth on demand, where they can scale it up, scale it down as they need, schedule the event. But down the road, we also think that there's an opportunity to schedule a threshold alert, threshold management. So where a customer might be able to say, you know what, I'm operating at 80% utilization, give me an incremental 20%. But where we get really excited about this and where this is really applicable to what's going on in the cloud is when you think about how you can have the application tell the network it needs more resource. That API-driven strategy can really be enabling to a customer where they need that performance immediately for a day, a week, or a month. When I think about API approaches, there's lots of applications that could go grab more bandwidth if it was available, right? But let's think about a real simple one. Everybody's seen a telepresence room, right? Great 3-screen systems, immersive audio and video. We all love it because it consumes about 15 to 20 mega bandwidth, right? Each one of those rooms. Well, what if when the user goes and picks up that handset and they dial that call up, we see the SIP connect message come across the network. You provision the bandwidth. And when they hang up, we see the SIP disconnect and it goes back down. You don't have to pre-provision, dedicate that bandwidth if you have it available to you on demand. So we're pretty excited about where an API-driven approach can go, because at the end of the day, you create this ecosystem sort of strategy where you have connectivity from the users and their environments at their headquarters, their data centers, connecting into the cloud to best-of-breed suppliers for infrastructure services or applications environments or CRM apps. Go down the list. But bridging that chasm between where the cloud guys are without a network and where the customers are and how they want to reach in to grab those applications for a day or a week or a month to have that secure, scalable, predictable network experience. And you can do that over that Ethernet infrastructure, that Ethernet network. We think that down the road, this notion of a cloud broker really starts to play a key role. So if you think about it, how people go out to the cloud today, they'll go out and they'll provision servers and storage, and they'll say, I need this many CPUs and I need this much memory and I need this much storage. And they go to a portal and they spin that up, right? It's provisioned automatically. The problem is you can't control the network today. So in a cloud broker strategy, you not only go in and you say, I need this sort of infrastructure, I need these servers, I need this much memory, this much CPU, but I also need this much bandwidth and this quality of bandwidth, and to give customers that end-to-end service assurance so that the network is delivering what they're looking for as they go out and reach into the cloud to grab those applications. So it's an exciting time in our industry as we think about change and what's going on, how we're changing the model for our customers from these lengthy provisioning cycles, the cumbersome provisioning infrastructure, to an on-demand world where they have access to capabilities, scalability of bandwidth, connectivity to the cloud, and infrastructure that meets their IT architectures, their IT environment. With that, I will thank you. Stan, I don't know if you had anything. Thanks. There you go.
Thank you. Wow, that's a great vision, and you're delivering on part of that vision already. The dynamic capacity, the ability to double or triple, you basically have to go and qualify certain customers, right? I mean,
yeah.
How do you do that?
So really, we've made this available across our infrastructure nationally to all of our E-line customers today, right? So the first requirement is that they have a carrier Ethernet certified service. And so we've given them the capability then to go into our portal and scale up, scale back the infrastructure as they need to, double, triple their capacity. Over the long term, we think we'll get much more granular about that. We'll give them scalability all the way to line rate, right? But provisioning that infrastructure is key. So what we've done is taken an approach, and we've done this over the past several years, where we've really focused on a consistent network deployment of infrastructure, of common platform, network elements, and an integrated back office, which is really key to this, to be able to deliver customers that seamless scalability on demand, right?
Now, I've been to your website, and you've got some demos there, but do you actually have something set aside for your wholesale customers, your enterprise customers, where they can go in and sort of log in and see what?
So on our portal, service portal, when a customer goes in to look at that, they'll see whether a circuit is in place that's designated for dynamic capacity. So there'll be an indicator there that they will have that flexibility and can turn it up, turn it down. Right?
Okay. Any questions from the audience? I've got another one. You talked about enhanced management.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about going something beyond just being able to see, put in your orders and see the status of the orders
Right.
and things like that. You're getting more into real-time data.
Yeah. So what we've done in terms of giving customers greater visibility to what's going on in the network is really focused on key operating indicators for them to manage their IT environment, their applications environment. So of course in our portal you can see the order status and where things sit in terms of trouble tickets, et cetera. But we felt it's more important to give customers visibility in a granular way about what's going on in the network. A lot of times that'll complement what they've already deployed for network management, where they see only the end-to-end piece. We'll give them granularity in the metro, the long haul, and the remote end, so they see 3 distinct views of packet loss, latency, jitter, bandwidth utilization, class of service utilization. And as we introduce the application-aware network, we'll also give them port and protocol information so they can see how their applications are performing. So when they get that information, they can see it in a list form or in a graphic, but it also allows them to do fault isolation, trouble management that much faster, right? So they can get to the heart of an issue, resolve it, apply the network resource necessary, and then they get back operating.
So
right?
You have a performance-assured Ethernet
yeah.
platform at the end.
Right.
How about for the application awareness? Are you using devices at the customer site, or is it network-based or a combination?
We believe it's important to have these sorts of services available and managed from the network,
okay.
right? So it's really, as you think about all of the elements along the chain, you have to be able to manage and collect information from each of those, but our services are more central to the network,
okay.
right?
All right, very good. Well, thank you very much,
All right,
Mike.
thanks.